This story begins with Ray, a former military operative who's now trying to enjoy a peaceful life. Or at least he thinks he is, because as he gets on the bus this morning, he can't help but notice some jerks causing a ruckus on board. A few seconds later, a pregnant woman gets on the vehicle and Ray stands up to offer her his seat. However, just before the woman can sit down, one of the jerks takes the spot and refuses to move. Our hero calmly asks him to get up, but after receiving only threats and insults, he decides it's time to put an end to their behavior, so he turns around. The thugs think they've won, but Ray just wanted to give his glasses to the pregnant woman. As if they were a lethal weapon, Ray starts hitting the subjects one after another in a true dance of infinite violence. One of them even flies out the window, shattering the glass into 1,000 pieces. The leader gets the worst of it, suffering blows and humiliation at Ray's hands in front of everyone. For the bus passengers, Ray is a hero. These guys had been causing chaos and robbing passengers for weeks, and the police had done nothing, so they are grateful that he took action. He then leaves the bus to applause. However, it wasn't always like this. The fight makes him remember horrible moments from his past and the reason why he decided to leave that life behind. To understand what they're talking about, let's travel back in time, a few years ago to 1984. We are in Colombia, and Ray is one of the government's best assets. His current mission is to eliminate one of the biggest drug traffickers in the hemisphere. Being a cautious and tactical man, Ray has developed a perfect plan. Instead of attacking the mansion full of soldiers, they wait for their prey to come to them. To do this, he and his partner and best friend Ned have placed C4 on a nearby dam, enough to send a dozen cars to hell. The plan is simple: wait for the car to be right over the explosives and then get rid of the cartel leader. After a morning full of preparations, everything is ready from a safe distance. Ned holds the detonator, and Ray must make sure the right target is in the car. However, something unexpected happens. The cartel leader is in the vehicle, but so is his 6-year-old daughter, an innocent girl who should not pay for her father's mistakes. Ray tells Ned to abort the mission. They will try again later, but Ned is sick of the jungle and the mosquitoes. He wants to go home and plans to detonate the explosives, even if the girl dies. To avoid fighting with his friend, Ray runs to the charges and tries to deactivate them before the car crosses the bridge. However, he doesn't arrive in time, and the last charge does its job. The enormous explosion engulfs the car in flames, incinerating all the passengers and throwing Ray dozens of meters into the river. Luckily, he survives, but he is full of fury. When he manages to get out of the water, Ned is waiting for him with a loaded gun. He wants him to calm down, arguing that there is no need to fight, that the mission is accomplished, and that they can go back. But Ray, consumed by anger, only wants to beat him up. At that moment, Ned shoots him, and they get into a fight that lasts several minutes. In the end, our protagonist wins the fight and assures Ned that he will pay for what he has done, reporting him to his superiors and putting an end to his career dishonorably. After this, Ray cannot live with the guilt and the burden of not having been able to save the girl. He asks to be discharged, retires from the government, and has lived an austere life ever since. As for Ned, he never saw him again. Almost 10 years have passed since then. Now Ray is an explosives expert who works independently. He still eliminates people, but he chooses his targets and makes sure no innocent person gets hurt. For his part, Ned has improved his life. He used his killing skills in business and amassed a fortune. He has just arrived in Miami and has many plans for the city. One night, Ray received a call from a client. The woman wants to murder the men who killed her family and has a lot of money to pay for a premium service. She is exhausted from trying to get justice the good way. These guys have half the city bought, and no judge dares to face them. Ray is her last chance to get some justice, no matter if she ends up with blood on her hands. The next day, Ray investigates the information about his client and begins to follow her. Her name is May, and her tragedy is real. Her whole family was massacred by evil men, and she is alone in this world. The last thing she remembers is being hidden in a closet while the killers tortured and killed her parents when she was just a girl. Ray accepts the job, and she gives him the names of the 3 culprits. One of them is celebrating a party that night, and Ned is present. Tomas, the first on the list, is Ned's new partner in illicit business. Together, they plan to make a lot of money, but that night, it turns into a company. May arrives in a spectacular dress and immediately attracts Tomas's attention. The next day, they are at his private villa, having cocktails and enjoying themselves. For Tomas, it is another conquest, but for May, it is reconnaissance. Her plan is to kill him and escape, although that afternoon she manages to see another of her family's killers. For a moment, it becomes almost impossible for her to contain the anger, but she must. If she wants to achieve her goal and finish them off, she must be patient. Ray, who has been following May for several days, sees how Tomas touches and humiliates her in front of everyone. She endures it for her plan, but he begins to realize that this woman matters to him. The final straw is when Tomas lifts May's dress in public as a sign of his dominance. Ray feels disgusted and decides to accept the job. That night he calls May and tells her 2 things. First, to stay away from Tomas and never see him again. The second will be pending until later. That same night, Ray gets to work and locates Charlie, the second on the list, at a Cuban bar downtown. There he watches him for a while and realizes that he always uses the same VIP room. So when Charlie gets distracted, he places an explosive on the door, then sits at the bar and orders a drink. All that's left is to wait. A few minutes later, the huge explosion sends Charlie to hell, and the loud noise is the signal Ray was waiting for to get out of there without attracting attention. The next day, Ned meets with Tomas and his father, a man they call Leon, the real capo of the city and a powerful man. The friendship and business that Ned is cultivating with Tomas are a stepping stone to get to his father and earn his trust. With his military experience, Ned gives them a brief talk about what happened at the Cuban bar. Charlie was murdered precisely. This was not a random act. Using Leon's influences, who gives a large envelope with money to the police chief, Ned has access to the police station and all its resources. He has promised the capo that he will solve this matter for him, thus earning the trust he so seeks for his future business. Although May did her best to stay away from Tomas, he has a lot of power and manages to track her down. Now she is at his beach house and under his orders. Meanwhile, Leon is having fun and has El Gordo to ensure his safety. He is the third on the list of men that May wants dead. El Gordo is a cautious, quiet, but very effective man. He has learned that actions are worth more than words, and he kills silently without asking. Ray has already tried to kill him on 2 occasions, but this guy pays attention to every detail and thwarts his plans. However, confident that the 3rd time's the charm, Ray places a bomb where no one expects it. One night, when El Gordo tries to leave the parking lot, he enters his password on the entry panel. A few seconds later, the harmless device is there in 1,000 pieces. The explosion is so strong that it turns the car into scrap metal, and El Gordo's body is thrown several meters into the air. Ned arrives shortly after and recognizes the mechanism that was used in the explosion. There is no doubt this is the work of Ray, his old friend, with whom he has unfinished business. With his investigation, he discovers that May is the accomplice in all this killing, so he confronts her and offers her a deal. He will allow Ray to kill Tomas so she can get her revenge, but he wants Ray in return. She explains to him that Ray has refused to see her from the beginning. She doesn't know what he looks like or where he might be, but she'll have to find out if she doesn't want to die like the others. Meanwhile, Ray has already put his plan into motion. He has infiltrated the tennis club and has exchanged Tomas's coffee cup for one with an explosive detail. Now he just needs to wait for the right moment to press the button. The small C4 charge will turn Tomas's head into an exploding watermelon. The explosion occurs, but in the midst of the chaos, May is injured. Luckily, the objective is met. Tomas joins the rest of his assassin partners. As for Ned, Leon is furious. His only son died because he couldn't deliver on his promise, so he threatens him. He has 24 hours to bring the person responsible or he will die. During that time, Ray makes an effort to find May, worried about her well-being and not knowing if she is still alive. That afternoon, he manages to locate her in a church. She has been hiding after Tomas's death, as Leon's men are after her. After confirming that May has no microphones or weapons, they leave together for a safe place where what sometimes happens without clothes happens. For his part, Ned has little time left and needs to find them before his head rolls on the ground, using the corrupt police officers and the rest of the men. He manages to locate May in a downtown hotel. Upon arrival, she is in the lobby. She just left a message for Ray and had planned to escape. But now that she has an enraged Ned in front of her, she has no choice but to tell him that she was about to call him. Ray is upstairs and she has the key with her. Quickly, Ned and his men go up to the attic to catch Ray and hand him over to Leon, but May manages to steal a phone and warn him about the ambush. When Ned's men enter, the attic is empty, but Ray made sure to leave them a surprise before he left. As he makes his way through the kitchen, he eliminates some men who stayed behind to watch. One of them ends up in a boiling pot. Since he has his hands empty, Ned decides to take May to meet Leon and tells him about her revenge plan. She is the one who hired Ray for the death of her parents. Leon clearly remembers that night. It was he who ordered his son to kill her parents. It's just business and nothing more. After that, Ned organizes an ambush for Ray using May as bait. One of the two will die, so he better show up. That afternoon, they take May to the marina and position snipers at surveillance points, as well as a dozen men around, so that Ray cannot escape. At Haname's house, she hopes that Ray will appear to prevent her from being executed. Confident in his plan, Ned awaits news from his men, but then the house explodes into 1,000 pieces. Before Ned can understand what is happening, Ray already has May in a boat and they are escaping together. Once again, Ned has been outsmarted and it is clear that he has no chance. Despite the fact that the three people she asked for are dead, May does not plan to give up until Leon dies. Ray begs her to forget about her revenge and escape together, but her decision will have to wait. Suddenly, sirens are heard and Ned has brought reinforcements. Without wasting time, Ray activates the house's security system. Dozens of bombs that will stop anyone who gets close. On their escape route, they run into Ned, who still knows him well enough to know where to try to escape, but not well enough to avoid the trap on the ground. After a series of unforgivable mistakes, Ned finally dies. He was never a match for Ray, who escapes with May before the place turns into an inferno. The film concludes a few weeks later, when Leon receives a package in the mail, one that sends him and his son to the afterlife. From a distance, May watches the explosion, and now she and Ray can start over.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.